What's going on, casters, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to do a video that's kind of just more of a fun video for me. It's just going to be a deck build video, a regular deck video. Nothing to do with the ECL. As much as I say you guys should still support the ECL and definitely look forward to more ECL content, this particular piece of content will not be ECL related. Just a general deck build that I enjoy personally playing just in my spare time. It's nothing fancy. But it is a little unfair, in my opinion. But let's go ahead and start off by saying that it is, in fact, a Thunder build. I'm a huge fan of Thunder. You guys know probably from my channel art and everything else that Thunder is my favorite Elestrals typing. So I love playing Thunder. And strangely enough, this particular Thunder deck does not run Sonicore, which is my favorite Elestrals card. But it does run the infamous Boombat. We do run one of the infamous Boombat here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into this so that you guys can kind of see what's going on. We have the one Boombat, as I mentioned, because I feel like this could also be taken out, but at the same time it's cheap destruction. So I feel like a staple as far as set 1 is at least one Boombat. So we do run the one Boombat. You disenchant one from it in order to target and destroy an Elestral. It's as simple as that. You can Nexus onto him or something like that to keep him on board as well, so you don't have to just go the TNT route and blow himself up. But then next up we have another one of my favorite Elestrals, which is going to be Jolten. I absolutely love this guy. My favorite animals in real life are the hedgehogs. I love hedgehogs, and this guy is essentially a hedgehog and a porcupine put together, mixed with a little Zeus energy. So I really enjoy this card. But this is going to be a normal cast, and you go get your Stadium Rune. Stadium Runes are very underrated right now, so it's a very good card and gets you to those magic numbers that you normally wouldn't see in Thunder. Next up, we're going to be running 3 Elechick. Elechick to help us go and get our Zeus. It's a normal cast and go and get a Divine Rune, which will be our Zeus in this case. Elechick is just a very good card as well as far as stats as well, and Zeus being able to help us reach those quote-unquote magic numbers. So usually, if you're unaware, the magic numbers in Elestrals, especially as far as set 1, is going to be 5. So if you can get to 5 or above, then you've hit magic numbers as far as 1-drops. Speaking of 5, we do have a 5 defense Elestral here, being the Astrabbit. Astrabbit is the best draw power in the game, usually splashed in just about any deck that wants to draw cards, because you do get to play Astrabbit and look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You don't reveal the cards to your opponent, and you get to put one into your hand, and it's absolutely amazing. And it's not just when it's played either, it's when you put a spirit on it of Thunder, of course. So once this card receives a Thunder, then you can get that look ability. And then we are going to play 3 of the dreaded Sparkit. Sparkit, really and truthfully, I'm only playing Sparkit simply because it is the only Nexus for Thunder in set 1. So very unfair card, very good card. So that if you're playing competitively, this is awesome for you. But if you're not playing competitively, if you're just playing around with your friends and stuff like that, you do have the option to forego its very broken yet awesome ability of Nexusing up to 2, and then you can forego if you choose. When you do, you can look at your opponent's hand and discard a card. So that's a very strong ability. So you can forego that in friendly matches, but in a competitive sense, that is very good for you. And then to round off the Elestrals, we run 2 Voltempest, also one of the most dreaded cards of set 1. A lot of talk came from Thunder, being that when it first was coming out, Voltempest was the most broken card ever, and it was absolutely busted. But there are so many counters to Voltempest. It is just a very good card because it is a boss Elestral, and of course, being Zeus, the father of the gods, pretty much, being his companion as far as the lore and everything, Voltempest deserves to have that kind of talk about him, those kind of rumors spread about him. I think Voltempest is an absolutely amazing boss monster, and I am so happy that he is the way he is. But there is also talk about Thunder Nexus being one of the, if not the best deck in the game in set 1. So, with that being said, this is not a competitive build built to be Thunder Nexus, if that's what you're looking for. This is not a Thunder Nexus build. It does have Thunder Nexus in it simply because it is the only Nexus target available. The true star of the show is probably going to be our Jolten and Voltempest in this deck. So if I had to say that you have a main card in this deck, it's going to be Jolten and or Voltempest. So I wouldn't bank playing the Spark-It and getting off a lot of its effects or anything like that. Like, it's not based around Spark-It. Just to get that out of the way, it's here because it can Nexus, and that's what we need for this build. But that being said, we're going to move forward on away from the Elestrals now. Alright, so now we're going on to the runes. We do run 3 Mount Olympus because, as I said, the stadium cards are very underrated. You do have the search ability with Jolten to get these to your hand absolutely free, and you can play these to boost up to get those magic numbers, or you could play this to use it for Nexus fodder as well. So you can get spirits onto your Elestrals and get those Nexus effects if you choose. Very, very good. And then we are going to be playing the 3 Zeus as well, because magic numbers are a thing, and this helps you get to those magic numbers on your turn. Zeus being able to -3 from your opponent's attack and or defense. So it is also a very good Nexus bank as well. You will hear that a lot going forward in the metas and the deck builds that you'll probably see people using. Nexus banks are a thing. It's just cards that can generate a lot of spirits so that you can Nexus them around. And if you're unfamiliar with what Nexus is, I've said it in a ton of my videos, but if this happens to be the first video you come across, Nexus is simply where you move one spirit on the board to another card. So if this Zeus is face up on your field with a spirit, you can Nexus that spirit with an ability that says you can Nexus. You can Nexus that spirit onto a different card. So if you wanted to put it onto your Mount Olympus, I believe you can. If you wanted to put it onto an Elestral, you can. If you wanted to put it onto a second Zeus, you could technically do that as well. So that's all that Nexus is it's simply moving spirits on the board to another card. But then moving on, we are going to be running 3 copies of Thunderstorm. And I know what you're saying. It doesn't feel worth it, but it really, really is. Let me tell you, we have a lot of high cost cards when it comes to the runes in this build, but all of them are so worth it. You might have to wait for that moment where it will be the most worth it, you know, your optimal play and things like that. You may have to wait for that moment, but it is so worth it to play 3 of these because you don't want to be caught lacking against an opponent who plays 4 back row and has 2 or 3 Elestrals on board. How are you going to possibly come back? Even if you can get to those magic numbers to get over these Elestrals that they have, what are you going to do about their back row? You're going to be playing Thunderstorm. That's what you're going to do. You're going to make sure that your magic numbers hit those cards because you run the 3 Thunderstorm and because you run the Zeus and Mount Olympus, getting you up to those magic numbers or bigger than magic numbers even. And then because this is a sort of Nexus build, so this is a kind of It's sort of turboing into Voltempest through Nexus. Because it is that sort of build, we do run 3 Circle the Sky as well. Circle the Sky being a card that can Nexus up to 2 of any spirit, and if you do, you can draw a card. So if you've seen my deck profiles before, if you've seen me talk about cards in the ECL, you guys know that I love draw power. If I can get draw power, especially for cheap, oh, it's so good. I love draw power so much, and this helps our strategy through the Nexus as well. Nexusing cards onto our Elestrals so that we can get that Voltempest out ASAP, and it can also make us even bigger with the Mount Olympus. So if we have Zeus and Mount Olympus on board, we play Circle the Skies, making our Elestral pumped up even more by Mount Olympus, and we can still use Zeus's effect to lower their Elestral's powers even farther so that we can guarantee that we hit over their Elestrals. It's just a beautiful combo going on here with these cards. So that being said, as far as set 1, I firmly believe that 3 Ambrosia is the way to go. You want that life sustain, you want to recycle these spirits that you'll be using, especially with a lot of the 2-cost cards that you'll have in this deck. So I think 3 Ambrosia is in fact the way to go. And then we will be running 1 Resting on Your Laurels. You'll see why in just a second. Resting on Your Laurels is a pretty cheap way of destroying an opponent's Celestial if you are behind on spirits. So you have to be behind on spirits, but it is only a 1 cost to destroy an Celestial in that case. But then we're going to move on to another 3 copies of Earthquake. 3 copies of Earthquake. It is another 2-cost card, just like Thunderstorm. Pretty expensive, honestly, but it is so worth it. With Thunderstorm, with Earthquake, with all these cards that can combo, destroying your opponent's cards, boosting your cards, this is a huge, huge win in your book, in my book even. This is a huge, just array of amazing cards in one deck. So I highly, highly recommend playing this. We're not done yet. We're still going to go over the counter runes, but as far as the invokes and things like that, this is just a win. You're going to benefit so much from getting any one of these cards. It's absolutely amazing, which is why we run 3 of just about every one of them except for Resting on Your Laurels, because it is that situational kind of card where you do have to be behind. So I would kind of rather just play Earthquakes just so we can kind of guarantee that we destroy that Elestral. But then we're going to be running 3 Shield of Achilles and 3 Tsunami. I will kind of go over these cards at the same time because they form similar functions. They both basically negate attacks. Tsunamis are going to be stopping your opponent's battle phase as long as they don't have a water enchanted Elestral. It's going to be stopping their battle phase. It's just going to be turning everything into defense mode so that your opponent's entire battle phase is just wasted. Super, super good card there. No question as to why that's good. But then Shield, you could technically change out the shields for Gorgon's Gaze to kind of serve the same purpose. But at the same time, you're spending 2 to stop an attack or an effect. The effect part is actually pretty big, but you would probably be using it more defensively so that you can set up the rest of your pieces first, and then turn back around on your turn and play the Earthquake. And that would end up being 4 cards that you play. So I feel like the Shield is a tiny bit better on spirits, simply because you would be casting the Gorgon's Gaze for 2, stopping your opponent in their tracks for that moment, and then, like I said, probably turning around and playing Earthquake for another 2, or you could be playing the probably 2 with the Shield if it's a 1-drop, so 1 to cast and 1 to bounce back. So that's 2 on your part, but then they played that Elestral, and then they have to replay that Elestral if they want to continue with the same strategy. So that's still technically 2 on their part as well. So you're benefiting an equal amount and not minusing a certain amount, if that makes sense. Because you could still have the Earthquake in your back pocket, but then you've essentially not minused 4 where they don't minus anything except for the 1 that they played, if that makes sense. Anyway, it seems more cost effective, I think is the word I'm looking for. It seems more cost effective to play this way. Like I said, you could change this out for Gorgons if you want to. You could change the resting out for a Gorgons. You could kind of play around with this a little bit. I personally think I'm pretty happy with where it's at though. So I personally wouldn't change much, if anything at all. But yeah, so that's going to be the main deck there. And then we'll move on to the spirits, where we play the 1 Lycoris. We play the 1 Lycoris because we really only need the 1 Voltempest on board to pretty much be in an advantageous position. If the Voltempest goes away, we just kind of make do with what we have with our Earthquakes and things like that until we can get an Ambrosia and then get this back, and then start working back on getting Voltempest out again if the game lasts that long. But usually, once you get the 1 Voltempest out there, you'll probably have a Zeus down here as well, and you'll be able to pop off fairly effectively. So with that being said, we have the 1 Lycoris, and we run the 2 Leviathan, simply because the only water cards we have in the deck are, of course, the 3 Tsunami. So we really don't need 3 copies of this with all the Thunder cards. We need a lot of Thunder cards. So I'm opting out for 2 of those, and if we need to Ambrosia 1 for the 3rd copy of Tsunami for some reason that we probably won't even see statistically, you probably won't see 3 copies of a single card in a match. It can happen, of course. This is an RNG based game, but it's not very likely that you would see 3 copies of a singular card in one game. So that's why we kind of opt out for 2 spirits there. And then we run the 3 copies of Earthquake. So we run 4 copies of Tyratlis so that we could get off at least 2 Earthquakes. Very, very good there. And if we need to Ambrosia a couple back, then we can do that. A lot of this is just, if we need to, we can Ambrosia some spirits back. But usually that's not really the case. But then we do run the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 Thunder Spirits. Very big Thunder Spirits package there because we do run mainly Thunder. So a lot of utility cards here, and then the rest of our deck here. Very, very good. I think it's a perfect balance in my opinion. You'll see games even where you can you've played all your Thunder, but you can still get that game-winning attack off with just like an Earth or something, a misenchanted Elestral if you really need to. But usually that's not the case. But yeah, so that's going to be the deck. So like I said, this is mainly the Jolten / Voltempest combo here. Just a very good card. Lets Thunder get into those magic numbers and is very aggressive against your opponent's board, being able to cut off their attacks, destroy Elestrals, destroy their back row. It's just very aggressive against their board. And in a competitive sense, if you're using the Spark It ability as well, oh man, you're just attacking your opponent's everything. You're attacking their spirits, their hand, their board, their everything. It's a very aggressive Thunder build, and I'm a pretty aggressive player, so it kind of fits into my wheelhouse as far as that. So I really enjoy this build. It's just more of a fun build. I'm not sure how actually competitive it is. Maybe I've cracked the code. Just let me know if it works out really well for you. I'd love to hear that. But this is definitely a fun build for me. I just really love Thunder, and I look forward to what we have in the future as far as Thunder. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below. Leave a comment, let me know. Yeah, thank you guys so much, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.